Less than 2 weeks ago, 63 refugees died in a shipwreck off of the Italian coast. This week, we learned of presidential plans to reinstate the detention of illegalized families crossing the US border. Global anti-Black racism was yet again starkly revealed in recent reports of the persecution of sub-Saharan migrants in Tunisia, whose president worries about population replacement by Black people. These are some of the border crises now surging into visibility in the midst of ongoing histories of forced displacement and racialized violence. Borders are deadly. They partition spaces and people as visible barriers and as invisible techniques of classification and control. They are cynically outsourced to third-party countries like Turkey or Libya in the name of humanitarian protection to save lives as they keep these lives in suspense, if not in increased danger. Long histories of colonialism and racism pulse through the sophisticated technologies of surveillance and deterrence at borders and are materialized as brutal pushbacks. But the world of borders continues to be challenged by acts of transgressive movement, dissent, and provocation. Borders are routinely crossed, redrawn, and reimagined by those on the move, who from states of deprivation and dispossession built fugitive identities, new worlds, and alternate apologies. The participants of our symposium, Borders and Crossings, Contemporary Arts and Techniques of Migration, were asked to reflect on questions such as, how do contemporary border policies and technologies reanimate histories of racial and colonial violence? How do we mourn the dead who perish crossing borders and honor the lives of those who persist in crossing? What are the limits of humanitarian and human rights discourses on migration and refugees? What forms of dissent, becoming, and belonging are taking shape in these spaces? These are some of the questions that will be discussed in the next couple of days by some extraordinary scholars who will constantly be crossing disciplinary borders themselves. The interdisciplinary, interdivisional, and collaborative orientation we'll be seeing at the symposium is at the heart of the new Center for Interdisciplinary Critical Inquiry, affectionately called CC. These are aspirations at the very least. We are currently comprised of the Program for Critical Theory, the Berkeley Center for the Study of Religion, the Environmental Arts and Humanities Initiative, and the Digital Humanities Summer Program. We support collaborations between the arts, humanities, law, and the sciences to address contemporary global challenges. Our programs focus on religion and politics, the global forms of critical theory, authoritarianisms old and new, borders, migration, and climate change, and there are also more initiatives on the horizon. So, welcome to this launch symposium for CC, and thanks for braving the elements to join us. At least the elements are a bit kinder today than they might be tomorrow. So I want to start with some gratitude. My first thanks go to our extraordinary CC staff for their tireless work on all the logistics of this inaugural event, even as we've been reorganizing, coalescing, and emerging as a center. Manager Victoria Joshua, right here. Program and Events and Students Affairs Manager Patty Dunlap. Both of them have put in hours and worked magic for all this to happen. And Bex Sussman, who's standing out there. Our communications manager made all of the beautiful publicity material and ensured that we got to the right place and at the right time. And my thanks to Brianna George. And I also wanted to thank the Center for Race and Gender for its co-sponsorship and wanted to express deep appreciation to the Arts Research Center, especially to Associate Director Lori McPhee, who's right there, who welcomed us with immense generosity into this space. Now, if you look into the outer hall right there, you'll see some marvelous posters that were created by the graduate students of the Border Media and Crisis Imaginary seminar that I'm teaching with Rhiannon Welsh. And I hope you'll be able to spend some time with these translations, cartographies of exile, and reflections on borders. They are by Ambika Andrea, Banan Abdelrahman, Olivia Goldring, Lauren Bartone, Rachel Park, and Elizabeth Sun. These students will also introduce our speakers today and tomorrow. Finally, an enormous thanks to you, Sarah Geyer, who's invested her time, vision, and resources into CC and also special appreciation for Les Gorski, who will be here tomorrow. And now it is my pleasure and honor to introduce Professor of English and Dean of the Arts and Humanities, Sarah Geyer, who's going to say a few words.
Thanks, DeBarty. Thanks, all of you. It's so nice to be here. As DeBarty said, this is the inaugural conference for a new incarnation of interdisciplinary inquiry at Berkeley. As some of you may know, for many years, Berkeley has been home to a consortium for interdisciplinary research, which brought together many of the initiatives that DeBarty referred to, initiatives in critical theory, religious studies, and digital humanities, among others. And that consortium, as a consortium, reflected a series of border crossings, both disciplinary, methodological, and regional in their focus. Last year, DeBarty Sanyal graciously agreed to step in to provide intellectual and integrated leadership to the many projects, including journals and grants and lecture series and a host of other things collected under the broad heading of interdisciplinary research. And in doing so, DeBarty both changed the name, as she noted, focusing on the center, not only the affiliations and the particular, and she also changed the focus on the particular form of research, not just interdisciplinary research as such, but a form of research that linked the current and potential projects included here, critical inquiry. These changes are part of a vision for the humanities at Berkeley that is open-minded, inclusive, and hospitable. Thus, it's meaningful that today's inaugural conference reflects the difficult hospitality, this difficult hospitality in its theme and in its participants, turning from disciplinary or interdisciplinary borders to migrancy, displacement, and welcome is a two-way street. It figures both the project of CC itself within the university and the contribution of CC to introduce conversations that cut across law, literature, architecture, and philosophy. And as Tom Keenan and I were just saying, there's actually a lot of literature here, which is exciting. It's not always the case, but there's a lot of literature being talked about in interdisciplinary context. So I'm just so delighted to welcome you here today. And I'm certain that the next 2 days will be a true intellectual feast, and that it will also set the tone for the many, many forms of interdisciplinary critical inquiry that are to come. Thank you and welcome.